Hello folks, my name is Mark. This is Why Hate the World. How you guys doing? Today I have the displeasure of talking about Representative Matt Gaetz of Florida, who is my least favorite representative in the U.S. House of Representatives. He's one of these guys that came after Donald Trump that basically used him as a role model and kind of, that sort of like crass, sort of, in your face, owning the libs kind of Republican. Like everything he does is done to like piss off liberals and like jimmy up Trump's base so that he can get those sweet Trump dollars. Like that's his entire thing. Like he'll go on TV or something like that and just crack a bunch of stupid jokes about liberals or whatever, or spread propaganda about Hunter Biden or some crap like that. That's his entire shtick, is in order to get that support, get those Trump dollars rolling in, right? And, so he's kind of a slime bag, and he has gotten himself into a lot of trouble over the last couple of days, as I'm sure you've heard. And, of course, if you haven't, if you live on Mars or if you live in Antarctica, under a rock or something like that, and you don't know what's going on with Matt Gaetz, it has come out over the last couple of days that he is under investigation right, by the FBI for allegedly for sex trafficking, and that is paying or giving something of monetary value in order to transport a minor over state lines and have sex with her, right? The minor in case being a 17-year-old girl, which apparently at the time they did this, she was 17, and she's not, 17 anymore apparently. Allegedly, right? I want to make sure I say allegedly because all of this, nothing's been proven yet. It's just an investigation. For all we know, it could turn out that he's completely innocent, but, he doesn't really seem to be acting like it. So there is an interview that he went on Tucker Carlson's show when this first dropped, right, when this story first dropped, in order to get out in front of it, And if you haven't seen that interview yet, I mean, I don't see how you couldn't have, because it's been everywhere. But if you haven't seen it yet, go watch it, because it's pretty telling. He basically gets up and makes a complete ass of himself. And he drops this story about this extortion attempt, right? And apparently, this has really nothing to do with his allegations of sex trafficking. But here's the story, right? So, Matt Gaetz goes on Tucker Carlson and he says, oh, my family is being extorted. An ex-DOJ official, came to us and tried to extort $25 million from us and said that if we pay him this money, he can make this investigation go away, right? And so Matt Gaetz is trying to frame this like he's some kind of victim. And of course he linked this guy to Joe Biden and all this other stuff in that interview. Which is bullshit, but we'll come to that in a minute. So here's the actual real facts when it comes to this extortion case, right? Is that it's not really extortion, but maybe, I don't know. So what's going on is that a couple of guys came to Matt Gaetz' father, right? His name's Don Gaetz, and apparently because, Matt Gaetz, his father is super rich, right? And they went to him and they said, hey, we know that this investigation, right, the story of this investigation into your son for child sex trafficking is going to drop in a couple of days. And if you give us $25 million, we will represent you and speak to Joe Biden and try to get a pardon for Matt Gaetz, right? And apparently they want this $25 million because they want to use it in order to get a guy named Robert Levinson, who is a hostage being held in Iran that people think they's presumed dead, but, there's like people out there that think this guy's still alive, and they want to take this money and try to use it to get this hostage back from Iran, right? Which is actually a pretty good cause, freeing somebody from being imprisoned in a foreign country is a good cause, right? So that's the thing, is that, his father, Don Gaetz, went to the FBI with this because it smelled fishy, okay? And then apparently there's some kind of extortion case going on there, whether or not there's an investigation into extortion. But to me, it doesn't really sound like extortion, because that is actually legal, what those two guys did. What those two guys did is they went to, you know, Matt Gaetz' father, Don Gaetz, and they said, you know, give us this money and we'll represent you and petition your case to the president to get your son a pardon, right? That's not illegal. You know, to request money in order to petition, you know, because they're not guaranteeing that he'll get the charges dismissed, or that the investigation will go away, or that he'll get a pardon. What they're saying is that we will, you know, approach the president with it. We'll represent you in order to make your case for a pardon. It's essentially the same thing that Rudy Giuliani did during the end of the Trump era. You know, a story came out that Rudy Giuliani was charging people $2 million each, right, to get a pardon from Donald Trump, when in real life what it was is that, you know, that was just his lawyer fee in order for him to represent them, in order to present, you know, to try to get a pardon for him. He wasn't guaranteeing a pardon, right? It sounds shifty and slimy, and it kind of is, but it's not illegal apparently. But this is, you know, but apparently there is an actual extortion case that is being investigated over these guys, right? And, you know, that's what Matt Gaetz was talking about on Tucker Carlson. And if you watch that video, you know, of Matt Gaetz on Tucker Carlson, he frames himself like he's a victim, right? He tries to make it sound like that this ex-official is in cahoots with Joe Biden somehow, you know, in order to set him up, and that the story was purposely leaked in the news in order to ruin this investigation into the extortion case, which to me sounds like complete bullshit. That's just my opinion. My opinion is that it sounds like bullshit, and what it really sounds like to me is Matt Gaetz purposely trying to obfuscate, right, the story here so that people get confused, and it takes away the focus from the, you know, from his sex trafficking investigation. That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like he realized he's up shit creek, and he wanted to get out in front of it, and so he brought this thing up in order to confuse all the Republicans out there, right? So that they wouldn't, you know, they wouldn't realize, like, hey, wait a minute, what about the actual, you know, sex trafficking investigation? Did you or did you not actually have sex with a 17-year-old girl when your ass is 36? Right? I mean, that's what he's under investigation for, right? You know, it doesn't look good for him, right? And apparently his girlfriend, you know, this girl is, you know, not 17 anymore, but at the time this happened, you know, that's the investigation to see if she was actually 17. And, you know, he kind of drops that during the Tucker Carlson interview. You know, he basically says that, yeah, you know, it's not illegal to pay for your, you know, to, like, pay for your girlfriend for stuff. It's like, wait, so this girl's your girlfriend? Like, I don't know, man. Watch that interview. It's kind of telling, and looking at Matt Gaetz's reaction to these things and the way that he's spuriously trying to confuse the viewer. You know, and then he also does some shit like he brings, you know, he names Tucker Carlson as a witness. You know, he said, yeah, do you remember, there's a part where he says that he had dinner with Tucker Carlson and his wife, and the girl that was there with him was the one, and then Tucker Carlson turns around and says, you know, I don't remember that. Right? Don't bring me into this, you asshole, you know. It's funny, it's fucking hilarious. And really, it couldn't have happened to a nicer person, because, you know, Matt Gaetz is really a piece of shit. That's what he is, you know. He, you know, is one of these guys that kind of had everything handed to him growing up, you know. The rumor is that he got busted with a DUI in 2008, and his dad somehow got him off. His rich daddy got him out of it, you know. What we do know is that even though he refused to take a breathalyzer test and all that, he got away scot-free. They didn't charge him for anything, so it's like, well, you know, and he's one of these guys that even though he has a past where he's, you know, got a DUI and is into partying and shit like that, you'll see him on TV continuously attacking Hunter Biden for his, you know, drug use and partying. It's like, you know, pot kettle black there, buddy. Apparently also everyone in Congress hates his ass, like the other congressmen, even other like Republican congressmen, kind of knew there was something shifty going on with him. And like, for example, I just saw a news story, I'll put it down in the thing, where Matt Gaetz likes to show off naked pictures of women that he's had sex with, that like on his phone, and he likes to show them to staffers and shit like that. Who knows if it's true, but that's the story, so that's not me saying this. This is this is the news story. It will be in the bottom there, the link to it. And apparently other congressmen just really do not like him, and they direct their aides to say, hey, don't let me get in a room alone with this guy, because I don't want to be in any pictures with him, you know, because they knew that some shifty thing was going to happen to Matt Gaetz, and he was going to go down one day, and they don't want to be associated with his ass. He really is a piece of fucking garbage, though. He's one of those guys, like, the first time I heard of him is when, during Trump's first impeachment, he basically barged into a closed-door House impeachment inquiry with a bunch of other Republicans, and, like, you know, to protest that it was, like, you know, a witch hunt or whatever the fuck like that. You know, which was illegal, what he did there. Like, he basically busted into this, like, closed-door hearing. You're not allowed to do that, right? If you or I were to do that, we'd probably end up getting fined or go to jail or some shit, but since he's a congressman, he gets away with it. So it's like, that was fucking bullshit, right? When the pandemic started, he went on the floor of the Congress in a gas mask to protest mask mandates. You know, of course, this is back when it all started, and nobody knew that 500,000 people would die. Of course, you know, looking back on that, that's not Gates's brightest moment there. You know, of course, he's a Republican, so he probably doesn't give a shit about people, or, you know, how many people have actually died from this thing, but that's besides the point. And he also, on the House floor, after the Capitol 6 riot, stood up and shared a phony baloney story that he read in the Washington Times about a firm that uses facial recognition technology that claimed that they found people affiliated with Antifa inside of the crowd that broke into the Capitol. And it turned out that story was complete horseshit, and the Washington Times retracted that. You know, has Matt Gaetz retracted it? No. Right? He basically spread misinformation, right? Bullshit misinformation about trying to blame, like, you know, the fucking Capital City riot on Antifa, try to blame it on the left and stuff like that. You know, unfucking believable. I mean, I don't know. You know, so is it really true? You know, did he really do these things? Is he guilty of this stuff? Who can really say? You know, the investigation is ongoing. But it doesn't look good for him. You know, there was another story that came out that by Axios, that he was contemplating leaving Congress, you know, to take a job with Newsmax. Like, he was going to, like, leave before his term was up. Yeah, you don't really quit a job like congressman unless you have a reason. You know, like, every time you see a congressman, like, just leave for no reason, like, it'll always be because there's some kind of scandal. There'll always be, and the excuse is always shit like, oh, I need to spend more time with my family or whatever, blah, 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 right? Yeah, you know, one does not leave access to, like, you know, wealth and power like this for no reason. And that's just a little time. I mean, you know, is that proof that he did it? No. Is it, you know, proof that he knows he's up shit creek? There's evidence of it, I would say. I don't know. There's one other thing that people are bringing up. Apparently, he was the lone vote against a bill that would have created a coordinator in the Department of Transportation that would, like, investigate sex trafficking crime. And apparently everybody else in Congress voted for this bill except for him. Does that mean? I don't know. I mean, it's kind of, is that just a freaky coincidence that, you know, the guy accused of child sex trafficking votes against a bill designed to stop child sex trafficking? I don't know. It's you know, who can say? It's all speculation at this point, you know. But I can say though that you know, I never liked his ass. I always thought that he was a piece of garbage, and this isn't really doing much to change my opinion. I mean, he's essentially a walking pile of donkey turds stuffed into a $3 suit, who in my opinion is a traitor for his actions that he took after the election, you know, voting against certifying the election and shit like that. You know, I think anybody who did that is a traitor, and it could very well turn out that he's also a pedophile to boot. We'll find out. We can't say that for sure. This is all speculation and allegation, but I don't know. Things are not looking good for Matt Gaetz right now. And good, because fuck Matt Gaetz. That's all I got, folks. Adios.